Welcome to another episode of Pipe DAO Podcast. It is episode 7 with you reading Sleazy Slimy and this guy.
Hello, it's me, Noodle. I'm back again. The favourite, the crowd favourite. That's what they've started calling me now.
Yes, the crowd favorite, because we have very extensive interaction here. We're working on this. But today we are reading a blog. Interestingly enough.
You what?
Sorry, what?
You what? We're reading a blog.
Yeah.
Oh my
Imagine.
god. I could
Not the website.
blow my
Not this
mind.
time. But before that, hey listeners, we get it. Sometimes you've got questions and browsing through endless FAQs just isn't cutting it. I mean, we do have Discord and Telegram where you could ask us questions directly. We're very responsive there. But maybe you want to hear human interaction for something important. A lot of people value that, especially those who are, on the elder side. We get in the universities, there are elder professors. So why not make it easy on yourself and give us a call?
Yes, just pick up the phone and dial +44 0161 399 4283
from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. UK time, Monday to Friday.
Whether it's a quick question, a bit of help you need, or you just want to chat with a real person, we're here for you.
No robots, no runaround, just friendly folks ready to give you the answers you need, and fast. So, next time you're stuck, remember this number, +44 0161 399 4283. Available 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. UK time, Monday to Friday. We're ready when you are. It's how the TTO fails the startup ecosystem. And before we go any further, TTO refers to Transfer Technology Office. The easier way to understand this is to think that universities have smart people in them. I've already made this joke, but the people in universities are usually focused on academics. Academics are focused on academics, imagine that. While the guys at the TTOs, they are generally responsible to bring those guys into the commercial world. So they're not just shut in their labs and hoping that someday in the future they will become famous. And they also need to make money, otherwise they're not gonna live for too long. That you can survive on your savings maybe for a little bit. And it is again a article by Robert James Steele.
Yes.
Yeah, that guy.
Him.
Have you met him?
A couple times. Yeah.
Understandable. It's a very new article, in fact. So now that we know what a TTO is, let's start. The image above. Oh, I'm going to describe this image. In fact, I am told that someone here even recognizes the image.
Yes, this is a place I'm very familiar with because I know a lot of readers won't, or not readers, listeners will be able to see it. But it's what it is a kitchen counter with a iPad, one of those Apple keyboards, and a bunch of Post-it notes and a glass of orange juice. And this was taken in peak lockdown. And I recognize it very well because this is actually where I did my one of my coursework assignments for my criminology course that I took when I was doing my A levels in college.
There's criminology in A levels. Well, damn.
Oh yeah,
I never knew that. But apart from that, so I would like to say that in this image, the focus of the image is the iPad and the keyboard, which it kind of looks like a setup for a PC, but a very budget PC. That is the focus of the image, but also I would just like to point out that there's a ton of post-it notes. That's how you know you are dealing with someone older. That is I don't think I've ever seen anyone like in the like Gen Z actually have this many post-it notes. I would maybe like use an A4 paper to write down everything, but post-its, that is good. And the other thing is, like behind the iPad, I see the original box of the iPad. Normally, you would not keep those, but it's actually there. And of course, on the left side, you can see a mask. That's how you know it's locked down, because there's an actual mask there, ready to go whenever. It's the type of mask that has already been used for several weeks because of how worn it is. But yeah, that's how you know that this is the peak lockdown by the use of old masks. Because like you can't keep buying masks like every day, or every use.
Yeah, they got very expensive as well. And PPE gear.
Yeah, and if you forget a mask, they are always willing to sell you at the gas station for €1 or £1, I guess. But before that, have you heard of a certain logo designer that managed to turn $2,000 into $200,000?
I have not. Please tell me more.
Oh well, his name is Dustin Moskowitz, a simple designer whose genius foresight in an early university startup, Facebook, changed his life. Yes, he designed the Facebook logo. And you can do this too by contributing to nascent technology startups from universities of today through Pipe Associate Network. Find out how you can get started today by going into the description, our link tree, and look for www.arbato.io/ban. Yeah, now, to the actual blog. The image above was taken on the 9th of October 2020. That is, at around 10:30 a.m. That is very precise. I bet you also remember the exact time you saw that.
I do. Yeah, no, it was me who's at the picture.
Ah. Oh yeah, you can actually see that in the iPad, like the reflection. Somebody is taking a photo.
mm.
You
Oh
can
my
also
god,
see a
you can,
kettle.
yeah.
You can also see a kettle over there.
Mm.
That's why it's a kitchen counter.
And a is that a bin bag? Oh, it's not important.
Yeah, 10:30 a.m. during lockdown, and this was my workstation. So Rob's workstation. Nothing more
Mhm.
than an iPad, a keyboard, and post-it notes in the kitchen. This was before the Pipe QAD workflow was documented, before the concept of Pipe platform was even fully understood, before any investment or even hint of investment, and even before he had onboarded a team properly. It was very, very early days, as we know by Noodle's monologue there.
Absolutely, it was very, very early days. Obviously, what we've done though in the previous few months and years, it was the main target was to spend time with who Rob believed was the target audience, understanding how they worked, what issues they had, and how best a solution could evolve to address these issues. So at the time, there was the assumption that the target audience would be the University Technology Transfer Offices, TTO for short, and that we would be providing them with a valuable set of tools that they would sort of embrace and engage with. Now, this isn't a naive assumption, as it's quite clear to anyone who spent time at all within a university TTO or knowledge exchange group that they had quite significant issues and really needed help. But obviously, leading up to the time when the photograph was taken in 2020, Rob had spent actually quite a significant amount of time meeting with the TTOs and learning about who they are, like how they worked, what their concerns were, and how they functioned. Uh, Spent time obviously speaking with universities across the UK, some in the EU and USA as well. Speaking to individuals who had a lot of TTO, like deep experience, people such as Tom Hockaday, who Rob spoke to around this time about the issues he saw and wrote about in relation to the TTO function. David Dana at the European Investment Fund talking about the European paradox, which we actually covered all the way back in episode 1, I believe. And how a GP/LP fund legacy structure was possibly missing a trick. And we also went on to speak with those that we assumed would be competitors, such as IP groups, who had originally set out and tried to fix the TTO function through money, but had pivoted to something sort of less hands on and more simple over time. Um, so obviously, he knew this landscape, and this is what we knew and sort of still know to be true.
But before we continue, are you looking to invest in real world asset innovation IPs? Maybe one coming from a university? I'll have you know, they have an average ROI of 397%, aka X4. And did you know, the likes of Gatorade and Google actually came out from universities?
Then what you're looking for is the Pipe GDAO, a community led protocol that fairly openly and honestly governs overall community ownership of the various protocols it creates. Join the Web3 real world asset revolution powered by PGF Launchpad with cutting edge university laboratory inventions that could change the world with your support, bridging the gap between university IP real world assets and Web3 capital. The PGF Launchpad connects EU university lab innovators directly with retail investors on the blockchain, included but not limited to automated seizure prediction and prevention, and boost EV driving range significantly. This could be up to 70%.
You can join us by going into the link tree in the description, launchpad.thepipegdao.io. Yeah, and there's a lot of bullet points. Let's go one by one. When there's like a list of bullet points in a block, you know it's important. That's like the highlight. Researchers and academics are often failed by the commercialization process. Uh, yeah, so we blame the commercialization process, not the academics here. 83% of R&D slash IP, so research and development slash intellectual property, that has received grant money, often from taxation, because this thing generally tends to be a government initiative, is never seen outside of the lab. So just to reiterate this, uh, the 83% of so first of all, there's a very rigorous process to actually establish whether a project should be funded or not, and when it is funded, 83% of those funded projects, they actually are never seen outside of the lab, probably because they're shut-ins and they don't want to go outside. Definitely not definitely not for that reason, but 83% of them actually fail on an early stage after being funded, because like there are several of them and they are failing on the very early stage after being funded. That is a pretty horrible outcome. Second bullet point: TTOs are staffed by academics who are looking for a home, not entrepreneurs looking to take on the world, and the churn rate is very high. So a lot of academics, they're not there for the money. They are actually there because they're having fun with it. Like we know that there's advancement of science and all that, but generally scientists are there because they love science. A lot of them would be fine with the coming to the science and sharing it with their peers and leave it at that. Of course, then there is the glory of your investigations and stuff, but it generally doesn't involve the commercial side of things too often. And the churn rate is very high. I had no idea what churn is. I had to translate it, and funny enough, if you translate it into Spanish and then back to English, it means abandonment rate. So that is easy to understand. The abandonment rate is high. 3. TTOs travel at tectonic speeds. In other words, very slowly, because tectonic plates move very slowly, if at all. When they do move, it usually leads to earthquakes, and are so badly misaligned with commercial reality as to be obstructive to positive outcomes. The usual misalignment between commercial and the university stuff. Universities use the TTO function to de-risk commercialization so as not to embarrass the university brand. This is critical! Exclamation mark. I'm reading it like a teleprompter because I don't know how else to convey the meaning. But to reiterate this point as well, uh, they are focusing on de-risking rather than the positive outcome. In other words, if you can take on more risk and have potentially significantly higher reward, a lot higher than the risk you are taking, they're not going to do that because the low risk is what's important, not the overall outcome in the long term. Next, universities and TTOs are fascinated by patents and believe that if something cannot be patented, then it is worthless. We're actually gonna elaborate on this point further on as well. But yeah, just because something can't be patented doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to be successful, and that's a limiting factor for them. VCs have an unrealistic impression of what a research project actually looks like. Needs and evolves. What VCs are looking for rarely exists within a TTO. So VCs, they only know what they need to know. The financial. They can look at graphs, they can look at some early criteria, but they are also people like us, and in the vast majority of situations, they're not going to understand the science that goes into universities and TTOs. So that lack of nuanced understanding is often quite a bottleneck. The most successful university spinouts are actually ripouts, where the researcher has got so tired of waiting for the university TTO to act, they just leave and get on with it themselves. Uh, a personal story, or rather not personal, but what I heard from someone from my university. He was like a year ahead of me, and he did this thing with a TTO for his end of graduation project, and he said, if I had known that, I would never do it again, and I don't recommend anyone to actually do it because I spent like half the time dealing um, with this excrementy piece. Yeah, that he would rather just do it the normal way that it involves nothing to do with money, and just finish it in peace. So yeah, this can be quite a headache, and it takes a lot of time as well as a lot of bureaucracy. Universities and researchers value kudos. In other words, the glory and the publication citation for your name to be known over market impact. A lot of so I like to compare it to this. So would you like to have $1 million, or would you like to be remembered after your death? Well, different people will have different answers. I personally would take $1 million, so I would I would not have to worry about money ever again, at least in my lifetime, and then give a little bit of a leg up for the children. But other people might actually prefer to be remembered as a great scientist after their death. There's nothing wrong with that. But the point is, they overwhelmingly choose that option, uh, the kudos, over the money, uh, aka market impact. Market impact is not just money. Actually, market impact can be a force for good as well, sort of like changing the world for the better. And I believe the value of research is measured in academic terms, not commercial ones. Dash, this is fair because this is actually their job. So yeah, Rob here agrees that is uh, there's nothing wrong with it, and that is what they genuinely focus on. But that also means that the commercial side usually suffers.
Did you know up to 45% of recruiter talent database are dormant? This means 45% of your revenue is left on the table.
Wow.
I know, right? But if you repurpose your talent database by redirecting them to nascent industry technology in high growth, you can share a portion of the high growth sweat equity too. How? The Pipe Associate Network. Bring new opportunities to talent within university-born R&D IP startups worldwide and earn a part of the future. Go to our description for the link tree or sign up on www.thepipecompany.co.uk and start your adventure of the future today. Absolutely. Um, so as we were saying, sort of like as he wrote this article, which would have been November this year, 2024, or well, right now, pretty much. And after been doing this for 4 years, what we've come to sort of learn about our target market, the TTOs and university research, technology transfer, and knowledge exchanges, well, they like to talk an awful lot.
I like to yap,
Big yappers, yeah, big wafflers, as I'd call them.
especially if they're older.
Oh yeah, they are a myriad of sort of conferences, workshops, discussion groups, lobbying groups, evolving frameworks, reports, and recommendations that the aspiring TTO officer can attend, whether driven by trade bodies such as Praxis Oral and or AUTM, or collaborative groups such as TENU producing reports, recommendations, and pseudo policies on how best universities can embrace technology transfers and knowledge exchange. However, since we started looking into the function of the TTO back in 2012, before we spent time really understanding the issue and risks, or before we began the development of the pre IPO exchange, or the Pipe platform, and Lab to IPO pathway in 2020, the same issues still affect the same sector and the same problems still exist, regardless of all the talk, all the reports, and all the meetings. The TTO function is failing the startup ecosystem, and this is why.
And this is why. Firstly, I'm just gonna read it from Rob's point of view. Let me be clear: this is not the fault of individual TTOs or their officers. Rob is certain that the people joined the TTO for a good reason. Yeah, so just to make it clear, while the academics are usually there either to get their certification and leave, or they stay there and go for the academic success, those who are joining the TTOs, they're never going to have their names published on any papers. They are there to do the commercial stuff, and nobody cares who did the commercial stuff. So they are never going to get this type of glory. So that is not the reason why they would do that. Continuing in the same way, a person chooses to become an MP. Uh, I think it means member of parliament or something, or a civil servant. They almost certainly do so because they believe they can facilitate change or at least function competently. So yeah, to change the world for the better, or also to earn money. That's also not everyone has such big aspirations. People rarely choose to take up this kind of roles for the kudos or the financial rewards. However, the TTO is almost always under resourced, underfunded, and therefore must prioritize resources on a project by project basis. Yeah, because well, I mean, it's a true of almost every budgeting type of project. This is a process known as validation or valorization, and is a critical first step in identifying the potential for impact of a particular research project. The problem here is you're asking someone who's almost certainly academic to form an opinion on an idea that may be outside of their technical scope, and for which they have limited, if any at all, commercial experience or exposure. Even those in universities, like I did a project on Web3 with the Ethereum testnet. The professors there, even though it was my university was a polytechnical university, they had no idea what I was talking about. They asked very surface level questions. So even for them, it's difficult, much less to the guys who are not involved that much in academics at all. Therefore, the TTO employees, TTO employs known processes such as simple market research, IP searches, and known validation mechanisms. So yeah, it's like the VCs. They usually just look at graphs that they are very familiar with to judge by the criteria that they know. They are rarely going to be able to understand anything nuanced. And I don't have an answer to how we could go around that. These are carried out locally, internally, or on occasion, externally using third parties consultants and or systems at a cost. And yeah, third party consultants that can work, but that is very much limited because the consultants are also there just to do their job and leave. This validation activity is carried out within every TTO, and many have different ways of appraising the project. Yeah, so every TTO is different, and every TTO is going to have their own preferred way of doing it. For example, some TTOs prioritize ideation that has an opportunity for patent. So, as we said before, a lot of TTOs are obsessed with patents. If there is no patent, there is no project. Others prioritize projects from a certain profile of researcher or from a particular sector, so they have favorites, essentially. Some validate projects based on who their funding partners are and what they know will appeal to them. This has a number of downside issues. But first, did you know that even top companies like Coinbase struggle with talent retention, averaging just about zero point 0.8 years, so under 1 year? Web3 faces a big problem with unqualified applicants, some scammers, overall CV spammers, leading to short-term hires. Applications like Passion, they are misaligned with the project ethos. This disconnect reduces long-term commitment to missions and goals. Well, Arbito fixes this. Arbito is a limited membership Web3 jobs platform that combines AI tools, vetting, and job management tools, as well as third-party ad boosts. We are maximizing the number of eyeballs on your job post. Join today by going to our link tree in the description and look for arbito.io.
So, obviously, number one is ideation that does not meet local TTO validation metrics and are not considered viable. Number two, ideation that cannot or should not be patented at this stage, lose out. Number three, ideation from inexperienced or young researchers assume more risk and are likely to pass muster. Number four, validation is based on local metrics and understanding with little or no consideration to wider opportunity. And then, of course, number five, the TTO is functioning in a bubble or a silo with little or no knowledge of what researchers at other universities are doing or what is really happening in the real world.
An interesting actually idea about ideation that should not be patented at this
Mm-hmm.
stage. In other words, maybe there's an idea that can be patented in the future, but because it cannot be patented now, they lose out. So yeah, and it's also difficult for the TTO to get a handle on how an idea or innovation could evolve in a wider context. So, funny enough, that's what I just said. This can be the negative effect technology readiness levels have on TRLs. This is the negative effect TRLs could have on assessing early stage ideation, particularly in isolation. Yeah, so we cannot use one metric as end all be all. This is because TRL is designed for products and systems within complex environments, and as linear, one dimensional, and a stage by stage, step by step process, assuming a project travels from TRL 1 to 2 and so on and so forth till TRL 9. And fun fact, if you go into pipe ecosystem, there's a quite an extensive QD process, which is a lot more rigorous and flexible rather than simply following a couple metrics from 1 to 9. The problem with this one-dimensional approach is that it leaves very little room for out-of-the-box thinking because the progress is TRL 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So, as I said, in pipe, just because you fail in one metric does not necessarily mean that you're going to fail later on because the review is a lot more flexible and involves actual humans. Well, not to say that TRL doesn't involve humans, but yeah, I wouldn't know. In fact, the evolution of an idea is never linear, obviously, in the same way the development of a widget to solve a particular problem is.
So, what we have is under resourced ex academic with little or no knowledge of a specific technical sector, measuring ideation based on narrow, parochial needs, often using systematic KPIs that are not fit for purpose in isolation. This is why 83% of projects never see the light of day, and why the progress of ideation to implementation takes so long.
Yeah, because they never leave their labs.
Exactly. Exactly. And if they don't know how to sort of get projects off the ground, then, well, projects are never going to get off the ground. This is
Yeah, those
only,
projects really should go and touch some grass, man.
yeah, for real. Get
Yeah,
outside. See your
yeah, they need to
family,
go.
bro.
Yeah, see the light of day. We facilitate people to actually see the light of day.
Yeah, get a tan, man. This is only the very first commercialization step. And before any decision to invest time and slash or money in a particular project has been made, this step alone can take weeks or months, given the way most TTOs operate. Any TTO reading this, if they're honest, will recognize these issues and will realize that they operate in this manner to a greater or lesser extent. And that is because of this. They will prioritize projects that have a certain profile or perhaps easier to understand and align with their internal metrics or external partners. They will also recognize that even at this early stage, validation or valorization can be an expensive process. This approach leaves a significant number of ideas without the support and input that they really need to evolve beyond an initial review. And this is where the TTO fails the startup ecosystem. And yet, TTOs are still doing the exact same thing over and over again. There's the occasional fiddling around the edges with some change to grants or process, but essentially the same issues are still present and still endure. there are still the same people attending the same conferences, addressing the same problems, and talking about the same shortcomings. Stop. Are you looking for a way to make passive income with your online business with a quality partnership that has low startup costs? Then the Pipe Affiliates and Referrals is for you. An affiliate is an individual or business that helps promote the Pipe services in exchange for a commission on the sales or leads that generate from their links. To do this, you'll need to join an affiliate program with Pipe, promote Pipe with unique tracking links on your websites, blogs, or social media, or any other channels. You will then go on to earn any commission made when a new user clicks your link and makes a purchase.
You heard that right. When a new user clicks your link or any client of yours and makes a purchase, you earn a commission from it. The referral process using Pipe offers a structured and efficient way for recruiting agencies to connect qualified candidates with potential employers. By leveraging Pipe's capabilities, agencies can enhance the quality of their referrals and improve the chances of candidates being considered for suitable associate positions. There are currently 4 roles: sales associate with a revenue share of 20%, the affiliate with 15%, and on a small scale there's refer with 1% and associate refer also with 1%.
Go to www.thepipecompany.co.uk/associates-affiliates to become an affiliate with the Pipe program today and start generating passive income with long-term potential. So when we say it's time for a Web3 revolution, we mean it. It really is time for a revolution.
Yay, and it starts, well, maybe it doesn't start with us, but it continues with us at least.
Yes.
The
We help.
difficult,
We're here.
yeah, yeah, like that meme. I'm helping.
Yeah,
The diff-
exactly.
the difficulty here for the TTO is in the scope of and breadth of disclosures they could be exposed to, and the stage each is at, the team they have, and the ability for them to validate often complex ideas of all shapes, sizes, colors, and crease on a global scale in a standard, systematic, and repeatable way that considers global opportunity and not just local capabilities. That is why we're not just in UK. We are also in EU, and maybe we can at some point expand to Asia and America. How can they give the required consideration to every disclosure at any stage? Open up their portfolios to field experts, interested parties, and investors whilst protecting IP. How can they do more with less, go faster, generate better outcomes, and do so without breaking the bank? Well, let's go back to 9th of October 2020. When Rob was considering all of this, he knew from all the conversations he was having that there need to be 3 key things that any system delivered. And that was the inspiration to come up with Pipe. They are: 1, the ability to validate any project from any subject matter, whether that be commercial, environmental, or societal in nature, and to provide a standard, systematic, and repeatable mechanism that allowed for comparison across projects, universities, and geographies. In other words, a tool that is not limited by the usual basic factors of reviewing a project. 2, access to an energized, interested, and a committed group of experts. We are talking about Pipe affiliates here, who would utilize their lifelong experience of technology systems, business, commercial, etc., to provide empirical evidence. Empirical evidence. It's something I heard back in universities. I have no idea what it is anymore. As to a project's validation, form management teams and collaborate with TTOs and founders to build out ideas into implementation. And 3, patient, timely, and long-term capital for investment. That's why we have PGF here. To support the development pathway of a project from ideation to implementation, and beyond that, is not limited to legacy GP/LP structures or unrealistic returns and unhealthy equity positions. These 3 things are what we refer to as the 3-legged stool. Huh, that's actually a lot of those
Yeah,
in the labs.
that's true. That is very true. Yeah.
Although I think my stools were one-legged, like with a spring that lets it go up and down.
Yeah. Well, stool is also another word we use for excrement.
Yeah,
Yeah. So when I was like the free, because obviously I used to do science a lot, and it used to come up a lot. I was just like, stool.
Why are you equating those two things? Like, if you do science, doesn't necessarily mean that you work with this word.
Yeah, but I did. I'm saying I did for one of
Okay.
my projects. We had to.
Yeah, funny enough, in Russian, it just means a chair. So yeah, I guess that was translated almost literally, like way back in history. So those three things are referred to as the three-legged stool, and they are the trifecta of what has become the pipe platform and lab to IPO pathway. And this system, processes, methodology, and funding solution has been developed specifically to address the issues faced by TTOs, universities, and research groups, and to provide the revolution or change the sector needs. We believe that every idea has merit until it hasn't. Every founder standing in their kitchen, it's personal experience, I guess, for him, with post-it notes and iPads, deserves to be considered and deserves the opportunity to be seen by a global cohort of interested, engaged partners, associates, and investors. This is what Pipe is. It's a global marketplace for university-derived R&D/IP, so research and development slash intellectual property, focused on finding, forming, and funding all ideation, supported by global web communities and industry experts so that we can collectively fix problems, improve solutions, and maybe save the planet in the process. We do have quite a lot of projects that have to do with sustainability and regenerative finance.
Absolutely, yes. Pipe is not just a VC. It's not just an incubator. It is at its core a movement. And we believe in the power of research, academia, and the ability for us to turn even the earliest, most complex, niche idea into an implemented solution. We believe that we can help universities and TTOs enhance, bolster, and even usurp the startup ecosystem because we believe in the power of innovation, the power of people, and the ability for them to come together and realize enormous impact.
Yeah, fun fact about this usurp.
Mm.
A lot of people would recognize this word from Game of Thrones. To
Mm-hmm.
usurp the throne. Is that even how you pronounce it? Like, I read the book. I don't know how it's actually pronounced.
What's this? Usurper?
Yeah,
Yes, they called that Robert Baratheon, the usurper.
yeah, and that's
Yeah.
what we are going to do. We are gonna usurp
We're gonna
the
Daenerys
startup.
Targaryen this. Well, maybe not if you choose the show. We're not going to burn everything down. We're going to rise everything up.
No, that's yeah, that's the dragon way. But maybe we can do more of a Cersei. Well, that's also not a great example.
Yeah,
But
she
anyway,
also blew
we're
up a
going
lot of
to.
stuff. There was no
Yeah,
good leaders in Game of Thrones, really. There was
yeah, I guess not. Or maybe Jon Snow, you could argue, and Ned Stark. But okay.
that.
Anyway,
To be yeah, but neither of them were really. Oh, we'll get into this later.
yeah,
Really.
and if you want to keep talking to us about Game of Thrones, we would be happily oblige if you join us on our Telegram and Discord. To join us, we can have a lot of different conversations there, and we'll see you on the next episode.